Okay, welcome back to a new video. This is going to be a sales training. So in this one, I'm going to show you exactly how to close 3K plus fitness coaching clients. It's going to be the full script and it's going to be the full breakdown. And even if you're a complete beginner to high ticket coaching and you have zero sales skills, you're still going to be able to implement this and close high ticket. Okay, so let's move on. So using this sales process, we're able to charge more money while simultaneously increasing the close rate on sales calls to 60+% on 3K deals. This is exactly what my clients have been doing, which is completely unheard of in the fitness coaching niche. In addition to this, with the right pricing structure and nurturing processes, it results in more people paying in full due to the level of certainty they actually have by the end of the call. And I'll explain more about this later on in the video. So first, you need to understand these concepts. Number one is the gap. So when you're on a sales calls, there are three kind of important factors that you must consider if you want to effectively sell your service to the person that you're talking to. So number one is you need to clearly understand and define the prospect's current situation. You need to understand and define the prospect's desired situation. And after establishing these steps, you can then position your service as the bridge between the two states of mind, aka where they are now and where they want to be. Okay, that's the gap. Now, if you want to get good at sales, you've got to remember this. Great salespeople do not sell products or services, they sell outcomes. You're selling a future state that is achieved as a result of using the product or service. You don't just sell the training plan, the nutrition guidance, or the check-ins. To be honest, no one really cares about this. You're selling the desire, the hope, and the dreams, and you're getting them to the outcome that they desire, okay? People don't care about the process, they just care about the transformation that you're actually selling. Now, just a little warning before we actually go into this. I've personally invested over 15K into courses and mentors, taking the best parts of the sales training, which collectively, from the clients that people have taught this to, has been responsible for generating over 100 million in client revenue. Now, in the wrong hands, this can be dangerous and cause a bit of trouble. What do I mean by this? Well, not to get all Tony Stark on you, but with this power actually comes a genuine responsibility. Using this process, you can literally sell anything to anyone. So I encourage you to use it ethically and honestly. So please only use this process to close people you can genuinely help. Very important. Okay. Now, concept 2, the 7-hour rule. So basically what this means is that it takes around 7 hours of interaction time / content between a lead and a company or a person to build the necessary trust, understanding, and desire to actually buy your service or product. Now, bearing in mind, the more of those 7 hours of content the prospect has absorbed, the easier it is it's going to be for you to sell. And the less content your prospect has absorbed, the more hoops you're going to have to jump through for them to actually buy your service. Now, just a note here as well, is that objection handling is actually just a byproduct of a weak sales process or weak content, or they simply just haven't watched enough content. So you've not fed them enough content before getting them onto a sales call. So if you're finding that you're having to handle objections regularly, then this is a result of a poor customer journey prior to the call. And just a little insight here, how sort of most coaches operate. They just post, tips and tricks videos, which results in no limiting beliefs or like objections being handled prior to the call. They just pray that inbound DMs will just appear in their inbox. The result of this is that they miss out on a ton of potential leads by not having a proper customer journey designed. Calls are all arranged manually. This results in prospects slowly losing interest in the days leading up to the call. And finally, coaches run the call like it's a consultation. Now, online coaching, it's not the same as PT, okay? You don't just get fed clients, you actually have to sell them on your service. So if you're running calls like a consultation, your close rate is not going to be as good as if you run it like a sales call. So the result of doing it like this is you don't build enough desire, urgency, and clarity around what your service as a whole during or before the call. Now, the way you should be doing it is that coaches not only post value content, but also uses a data-driven marketing approach to handle limiting beliefs, objections, things like this. Talk about their struggles, solve these in real time using content. The result of doing this, is, having the positive and empowering beliefs instilled into the audience before they even get onto the call. You handle objections, and not only this, but they know, like, and trust you a lot more if your content variety is higher. Another thing, so lead generation is systemized, interest is proactively captured regularly and nurtured via multiple conversion mechanisms. The result of this is that prospects are given lots of opportunities to take action and have a lot more clarity and trust in you prior to getting to any kind of sales conversation. And what I mean by conversion mechanisms is things like long form videos, lead magnets. Basically, you just giving them value in exchange for either data or conversations, and just kind of nurturing them through different sources of value, pretty much. Calls arranged through Calendly and Zoom, and automations properly set up so they're nurtured and reminded before the calls, and the show rate will be much higher if you do this. And lastly, the coach is properly prepared for the calls, actually uses a good script, and ideally a presentation to ensure that there is absolutely zero doubt before the price is dropped at the end of the call. The result of this is that prospects literally have nothing to say other than I don't have the money right now when the price is dropped, which you can deal with this objection alone, isolated, much easier than if you were to have a load of random little objections as well. Now, concept 3 is the power of silence. Okay, this is by far the most potent sales weapon you can use. It's very simple. When you ask your prospect a question, just shut up. Do not talk over them. Do not jump in to give input. Even if they get a bit muddled up when you ask a question, just listen, wait, and let them finish entirely. Give them a couple of seconds of silence before responding and moving on to the next question. Most people are incredibly uncomfortable with silence, so when we allow prospects to silence to talk, they will often reveal more about their situation, which we can later leverage to close the deal. Additionally to this, being a good listener and ensuring your input is concise and direct makes the prospect feel like they're in control of the conversation, that you're actually listening to what they're actually saying, and this is going to basically reduce sales resistance across the call. But if you keep talking at them, waffling about stuff that they don't care about, they're just going to lose interest over the duration of the call. So, so if you're the kind of person that talks a lot and likes to give your input, you just need to calm down a little bit, let them talk, and make sure you're actually listening to what they're saying. Okay, don't just assume that you know what they want, because everyone's different. So you need to listen to everyone's individual needs, and then, like I said, with the gap, bridge the gap using your service, using the things that they actually tell you, because you don't want to just assume that you know what they want to hear, because you don't. Number 4 is just letting them sweat a little bit. You're going to be asking them some difficult questions about their struggles, pains, desires, and if they're not where they want to be, then it's going to be uncomfortable. When we do this, it's going to build up some negative emotions and anxiety in the prospect's mind, and it's this pain that will actually motivate them to buy from you. So don't try and solve it, don't coach it, and don't, for God's sake, start trying to add value. You need the prospect to really acknowledge the gravity of their situation, because pain is the primary reason why someone will actually buy from you. So don't try and alleviate that on the call. So basically, you just want to imagine like you're a doctor or like a therapist. When the patient is sat in your office, aka on the sales call, it's your job to listen, gather information so that you can diagnose the problem and then provide a suitable treatment plan. And in this case, the treatment plan is your program. Your job isn't to just say, don't worry about it, and then just have them avoid actually doing anything about it. We want them to buy from you. Number 5 is acquiring micro commitments. So this is just psychology, really. During the call, the more micro commitments that you gather, the more leverage you're going to have. So it's also going to give the impression to the prospect that they're in control and they're making their own choices, as opposed to you kind of just talking at them and forcing them further down the call. So I challenge you to see how many yes and positive responses you can get before dropping the price. These are also known as like temperature checks. So if at any point they seem a bit uncertain, make sure that you iron that out before proceeding on to the next section. So examples of this is just asking things like, does that make sense? Can you see how this would help? Would you like me to show you? And then, whatever the next section you're going to go on to is in the presentation. Is there anything you're unsure about? Have you got any questions about this? Just make sure you're always making sure that they're engaged, they're not confused about anything, and this way you'll be able to keep leverage the whole call. It's much easier to handle objections and concerns, questions and things like that before you drop the price and start to discuss money. Definitely. So things to consider is that, this is where some people are shooting themselves in the foot, right? Because every sale between 1 and 10k is going to be the same, as in the same process to actually get someone to buy is going to be identical. So, if you're using this sales process, then it's geared towards high ticket, right? So it gives the prospect an appropriate amount of time in the sales stage to comfortably make the decision to buy from you. So whether you charge 1k or 3k, it's exactly the same process. So if you run this and you're still undercharging for your service, then you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And something I hear quite a lot is that my audience can't afford my service, which is just a limiting belief. And I've had so many clients charge high ticket, and they all have good close rates. So when people just say that to themselves, it's just because they're not confident in their ability to sell. And how do you get confident? You just get confident by running the process over and over again, and you'll get better at it over time. Number 2 is that your service price determines how much content the prospect needs to consume before buying. So this is why I put a huge emphasis on long form content. Basically because, when a person watches a longer video, they're more invested in what you're actually saying, as opposed to just mindlessly scrolling on their phone via like TikTok or Reels. So you can educate them about your service and show them how this solution is the best for them, while also eliminating limiting beliefs, handling possible objections, and just overall giving them a high level of clarity around why your methods are the best. Obviously using real examples is the way forward. And so the higher your prices, the more kind of nurturing relationship building needs to happen before the end of the sales call, pretty much. The higher your prices, the more kind of text conversations you might need to have before you actually try and sell them on your service. And the lower your prices, the less content that needs to be consumed. So, and the last thing is that what happens before the call matters just as much as like during the call. So everyone has a different buying threshold. So if you want to maximize your ability to convert everyone, then you need to be prepared for them to watch a lot of your content. So you need to have a lot of good content made up for them to binge watch. So the best way to ensure that the prospect is educated and pre-sold prior to the sales call is to have plenty of long-form content, 5 to 10 lead magnets that solve all the problems between getting them from A to B. And basically, during the appointment setting process, you're talking to them, finding out what their individual struggles are, and you'll be able to send them videos that are actually unique to them, which really helps. So, like I say, having a lot of long-form, value-driven content for them to binge on YouTube and send them while you're talking to them. Because at the end of the day, if you find that you're getting a lot of, I need to think about it objections, personally it never happens to me, but that's because you don't have enough content for the people to watch, and they're unsure and they're a bit confused as to if you can actually get them their desired result. Because they don't need time to think about something, it's information they need. So if they're saying I need to think about it, then it means you haven't given them enough information, whether it's during the sales call or before the sales call through like YouTube videos and things like that. So if you don't have a YouTube channel, you're really at a disadvantage because you can't really get across much information in short form content alone. So it's an absolute must, to be honest. Now, here's a kind of brief overview of the structure. So you've got the introduction, the kind of discovery phase, talking about their future goals in the future framing phase. There's going to be a point in the call where you're going to actually decide, is this person a good fit or are they not? The presentation, of course, and the investment as well. So the induction. So I'm just going to go through each question and kind of give you my thoughts when I feel necessary. So obviously, hey John, can you hear me? So these calls usually run for about 45 minutes. Is now still a good time? The reason you want to ask this is because it avoids any kind of people trying to escape the call in the later phases. So if they give you the micro commitment that yes, now is still a good time, it's very unlikely that they're gonna say, oh, I need to go, or I've got this organized, or I've got another call. That happened to me quite a few times, like in the really early days of me starting this, and when I put this question in, it just stopped completely. So it's really good. So the first thing you want to do is, personally, I don't bother with like random small talk, because like the prospect just knows that you're just waffling. Like you don't really care what the weather's like or what their hobbies are. So just don't bother. Like, people can smell the bullshit. You're best just getting on with the call, to be honest, and being direct. You both know why you're on the call, so it's better to just be direct with the person. Don't try and fill the start of the call with like random chat, because they're gonna know like you don't really care. So I would just say not to bother, to be honest. So you want to first set the agenda straight away. So John, how these calls usually work is I'm going to ask you some questions and get an understanding about your current situation and your journey so far towards whatever outcome you're selling. Then if we establish we're a good fit for each other, we can explore some options to move forward. All I ask by the end of the call is that you just give me a yes or a no out of respect for both of our time. Sound good to you? Now, the reason this might sound a bit forward for some of you, but to be honest, it just sets the tone. It gives the prospect some reassurance about how the call is going to be conducted. And to be honest, you're just doing them a huge favor by saying you want a yes or a no, because it just reduces tension and they don't need to think of any weird objections, if they aren't interested. They've just got to tell you no. So to be honest, I think it actually just helps them out a little bit. And yeah. So the first is the discovery phase. So basically the goal of this phase is just for you to build build a picture of their whole situation, their personal circumstances, where they're currently at in their journey. And yeah, that's all you're trying to do, really. So I like to start by asking, so John, what exactly inspired you to jump on the call with me today? This is just kind of like an easy way of just kind of getting them to open up a little bit. And just so I'm in the best place to help you, what are the biggest struggles you're actually facing right now when it comes to whatever the outcome is? So if they haven't told you already, or they've been a bit vague, then you can kind of just jump straight into it here. So why the urge to change? What effect is this actually having on your life? You want to understand why they actually want to make this change. And how long have you been trying to solve this now? This one's quite important. By the way, just a tip for you guys, that you want to have like a little book next to you. Write pains and then a bit that says desires. So during the call, when they're talking to you, you need to be writing down using their exact words when you then pitch your service back to them later. You need to be very specific about what they're actually saying to you, so then you can use this later on in the call. You don't want to just assume that you know what they're thinking. So you have that next to you during the call. You write it down as the call goes on. So how long have they been trying to solve this now? That is very important, because if it's like a year or 2 years, the longer it is, the better position you have to then make it more important that they make a change now, pretty much. Okay, gotcha. So thanks for opening up with me, John. Just to give you more insight into your lifestyle, I'm just going to ask you a few questions, if that's okay with you. Another micro commitment there. So you're always kind of asking permission to proceed into the call. Okay, this is going to give the illusion that they're in control of the conversation, and this is the kind of frame you want to keep throughout the duration. So here's just some examples for you for like a fitness coaching offer. And basically the whole point of these questions that you're about to ask is that you're just trying to identify the flaws in what they're currently doing. And then all you're going to say is, if we were to dramatically improve all these things in a way that was easy to manage and adhere to, what effect do you think that would have on your situation? So you're basically just making it sound like, if I was to help you fix all these things, what effect do you have on that situation? And 99 times out of 100, they're going to give you a positive response, right? And they're going to relate that to your service, essentially. So, John, just so I have the full picture here, what kind of things have you tried in the past, such as coaches, diets, different training plans, etc.? So this part, you're just kind of trying to figure out what have they done in the past, and ideally you want to figure out why those things didn't work for them. Because if there's any things that they don't like or they don't agree with, then you don't have to mention these things later on in the call, and you can actually focus on parts of your program that can alleviate/eliminate these struggles for them. So yeah, basically, it's just putting you in a stronger position by emphasizing how much they need you, highlighting how ineffective their previous or current actions are in regards to reaching their goal. So not only this, but it's giving you opportunities to become the knight in shining armor later in the call when you refer back to these things, framing your service as the best solution. So the next part is the future framing section. By the way, just something to note, by the way, that you've got to remember that this has got to sound like a conversation, okay? You don't want to be too rigid about what you're saying. You want to find the sweet spot between having a natural conversation, but knowing when to keep the prospect on track and keeping them on track with the script, because you don't want to waste too much time to be honest, like the least words that you can possibly say to get your point across is going to be the best solution. You don't want to waffle on about stuff, because they will just lose interest. So, okay, so John, if everything were to go perfectly for you from now on, where would you like to be in 6 months' time? So, you know, you're just kind of trying to get them to picture their ideal situation. Gotcha. And what effect do you think that would have on your life? And if you've talked about things that motivate them in the discovery phase, you can then also refer to that here as well. Now, I've highlighted this part green just because it's important, the wording of it. So, just so I'm crystal clear, John, in your own honest opinion, what's stopping you from hitting this on your own? You know, you're just basically, you need to say it in the right way. You know, like a curious, not like you're judging them or anything like this. And you know, 9 times out of 10, they will give you a positive answer to this as well. In terms of they'll tell you why they feel like they can't hit it on their own just because of the way you've worded it. And I know you've said you've been dealing this for 2 years now. What was it that made you want to solve this now? Like, what was the nail in the coffin that made you decide, yep, I'm just going to book this call and get this taken care of right now? So again, you're just subtly implying that, they're here to get this solved right now and that they're going to buy something from you. It's just a play on words, and usually they will give you a positive answer for that as well. And then just lastly, because let's say if you were in this same position in 6 months' time from now, how would you feel about that? And again, you're just playing on the idea that they could be in the same place in 6 months now that they have been, and that won't sit well for a lot of people. So yeah, basically you're just creating the frame of mind that they're here to fix this problem now. The qualification section. So this is where you have to decide if they're a good fit or not. It's important that you only proceed with people who you can genuinely help. You don't want to pollute the back end of your business with people who aren't a good fit, because you will regret it. And this also gives them a sense of relief as well if they are a good fit. And that it also is a good impression that you only work with people who you can genuinely help as well, which creates more desire. And it's just another micro commitment as well that they do want to see how your program works. So all you're going to do is just basically say, based on everything you've told me, I'm glad to say that I think you would be a great fit for the program, and I'm very confident that I can help you. Would you like me to show you how I get results for my clients? Okay. And if they say yes, then they're showing interest, right? And this is where the presentation starts. So you'll simply just, at this point, you'll say, okay, no problem, bear with me and I'll just share my screen. Slide 1, very simply, I've just put an example here. Just going to be your offer statement, which is going to speak to them if you're talking to the right person. And then you're just going to have some testimonials or client results to back the statement up. Okay, so this is just an example from one of my other clients. This is very important that you provide evidence immediately, and then this is going to set you up well going into the rest of the presentation, and obviously the price as well. So after doing that, you then just want to give a bit of background information about how you got to where you are now, which ideally will include ideally you want to have done what you're coaching them to do, because then you can go into the story about your before state, how you came across all these struggles, how you overcame them, your after state, and then how you kind of created a better and more effective solution, and now how you help others achieve the same results. Okay, because people want to be coached by someone that they know have done the thing that they're trying to do. So yeah. Okay. about that. You want to have like a comparison, old way versus new way thesis. The new way is obviously like your methods, you're trying to position yourself as this like new opportunity, right? So the fitness industry is full of like different methods and coaches and plans that all work, but you need to position your program as like a new opportunity which eliminates the flaws of traditionally used methods, right? And like most people are gonna have probably failed a good few times before they've gotten to this point of talking to you. So ideally you want to make like 3 to 5 comparisons of why your program is the best solution on the market and why they're basically wasting their time going elsewhere. And if you mention things that they've tried and failed before, it's just going to make you look like even more of an authority and like you know what you're talking about. So just as an example, so like fad diets, for example, jumping on diets. You know, a lot of people come to me saying that they've tried keto, carnivore, plant-based, which, you know, have not all worked for them in the long run. If you eat a different way to normal when you're dieting, you're just setting yourself up to failure. So basically how we operate is that, you know, we're all about creating long-term sustainable lifestyle changes so that in 6 months' time, you know, you no longer need our guidance when it comes to nutrition. We don't believe in people mindlessly following meal plans or cutting out food groups. So basically what we teach is just how nutrition works, what foods are the best for your body, and then we can give you a simple system to use that helps you measure your intake on a daily basis so that you can still eat all the foods you enjoy but still stay on track with your goals. So all these comparisons are doing is just positioning your solution as the best solution to like all these other little like methods that people try pretty much. You know, you can compare yourself to like the methods of other coaches, you know, different diet plans, just whatever you think the biggest. Basically, you're just trying to figure out who your enemies are and how you can then, you know, position and compare yourself in a brighter light, essentially. Next, you're going to go into the kind of vehicle / roadmap explanation. This is essentially the like how it works section. So the goal with this is to provide clarity and reassurance around what happens when they sign on as a client, while also simultaneously explaining the benefits of everything that relates to their specific needs and struggles. So what I mean by that is when you're going through what happens when they come on board, you need to be looking at your booklet of like their pains and struggles and whatnot, and you need to literally be relating what you're saying to the things that they've told you. That is super important. Don't waffle on about parts that they're not bothered about or that they've not told you about. Like if they've not highlighted something as a problem, then don't talk too much about something that's going to fix that, because you're just talking about an imaginary problem that they don't have. So you want to just brush over those parts and really focus on like the pains and the struggles that they've told you previously in the call. So an example of this is, you know, the onboarding process. So the very first thing we do when you come on board is send you across your welcome email. This includes everything you need to get started as well as the next steps to follow. One of the first actionables for you is to book your kickoff call. This is basically just where we walk you through your whole game plan with you live on the call, make sure that you're 100% comfortable with all the software, you know, your training plan, your nutrition plan, and just make sure that we have the same expectations moving forward. Okay, then you're going to move on to the deliverables. So, by the way, you don't want to be, I mean, I have said this earlier in the video, but before moving on to each section, you need to take a second to ask if they have any questions or concerns, and you need to make sure that they're 100% certain before you move on to the next section, and ask them permission as well. So after this, you know, you would just be like, you know, would you like to see the deliverables of the program? This is just exactly what you get if you come on board. And they'll say yes. So basically, this is the last slide before discussing the investment options. So the purpose is simply just to stack as much value as possible before moving on to the price, so it's at the front of their mind, all the things that they're going to get when they come on board. You can really set yourself apart from the competition here by adding things that are bespoke to the transformation that you're selling. Most coaches will just give the basics like training plan, nutrition plan, and check-ins, but this is so predictable and it doesn't separate you from anyone else on the market. So here's just an example of different things that you can add to your program. These aren't specific to anything. I was just randomly thinking of them. Obviously, you want to make sure that they're very specific to the transformation that you're selling. Like if they don't need a productivity boost protocol, then don't add it. You don't want to just create a huge list of like nothing. You need things that are really going to help them get to their goal, but just make sure that you're providing as much value as possible. Don't just, chuck things in for the sake of it. So, roadmap calls, so they're, crystal clear on like what the journey is going to look like. Their customized training plan, you might update this every, 8 weeks or something. A full nutrition course that teaches them, how to actually track their macros and learn just so they're very educated, Weekly check-ins, access to a community and group calls. This kind of adds value to the program. So it's not just one-to-one, they're like talking to like-minded people as well while they're doing the program. You might have some like mindset material, how to improve the mood and focus, productivity. Maybe you chuck in like a free gut health test or like a free welcome gift, which is relevant to whatever you're selling. For example, one of my clients is a kettlebell coach, and he basically buys them their first kettlebell when they come on board. Maybe you've got like in-person events. You might have like monthly challenges and prizes. You really need to get creative if you want to if you really want to appear as the best. Like if you do this right and you look like the best coach / service on the market to fix their problems, then when you go to the pricing, they're gonna buy from you. No questions asked. Trust me. So you really want to make sure that your service is banging, and that's gonna really help you out. Then, so basically after you've done this, I'd like to just ask something along the lines of on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you think this is terrible and you want to get off the call right now, or 10 being you think this will really help your situation. Where are you right now, just so I can kind of gauge where your head's at. And most people will say 10, but if, let's say for example, they say 7 or 8, then you want to just ask them, okay, I completely understand. Can I just ask though, what would make it a 10? You're just trying to wean out any last minute objections, okay? So if you can handle the objection before you get to price, then you'll be in a much stronger position moving forward. So when they say they're a 10, then you move on to the price. Now, like I said, make sure that they're 100% certain before you actually move on to the price. You always want to incentivize them purchasing your offer that brings in the most money. Okay, I shouldn't really have to say that, it should be obvious, but people are still charging monthly regardless of the person's goals or financial situation. So if you have a 6-month package, then your goal should be to get a paid in full for 6 months, okay? That's how you want to position the investment options. You want to incentivize people paying in full and going for the longer option, obviously. So I find for a fitness coaching offer that between 3 and 6 months is usually a good time. Any more than that, and you'll probably get a lot of no's. And any less than that, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. It takes at least 3 months to get a solid transformation, depending on where the person's at and where they want to be. It could be 6 months. So having a 3-month and a 6-month package is good. Also, when you give them 2 options to choose from, their state of mind is more okay, which option should I choose, instead of, should I buy? If you just said, okay, now the investment options, it's $1,500 for 3 months. What do you say? They're going to be thinking, should I buy or not? Whereas when you position it as, okay, so there's 2 options. There's the 3 months or the 6 months. Personally, I think for your situation, the 6-month package would be better. sorry, I've said that wrong. So basically, you could also have a split pay option as well. So you might want to say, I've not written this in here, but let's say the split pay is like 1,500 now, and then 1,500 in 30 days. So then it can be a this or that with the split pay. So you can either go down the route of letting them choose if they'd prefer 3 or 6 months, like it's presented here, or you can be, play more of a leadership role, more of an authority, and say, look, I think 6 months is the better option for you. You can either pay in full for 2,500, or there is a split pay option where you can pay 1,500 now and 1,500 in 30 days. Which option is best for you? So your confidence will radiate, and they will, if they feel like this is a good option for them and they have money saved, then they're gonna buy from you. As I said at the start of the video, I've got clients doing 3K packages with like a 70% close rate. It's ridiculous. But yeah, if you do this and you confidently say it at the end of the call, you'll be able to sell packages like this, no problem. And depending on how much social proof and followers and things and how much experience you've got, will decide, also your target audience, will decide how much you want to charge for your service. And just a summary here, if you run this process and actually have a bit of sales skills, you will make a lot of money. Obviously this is quite a summarized version, but it's this level of depth that you need to consider if you want to be charging between 3 and 5K for fitness coaching. To build a better service, make more impact, and grow your capacity to help others, then you need more profits to invest in your business. You need to think bigger. People will pay good money for a good service that is tailored towards the specific outcome that they want to achieve. So this is why being broad and trying to target everyone, it doesn't really work. If you want to sell high ticket, you need more specificity in what you're actually selling. But if you're sick of being affordable and chasing half interested prospects because your service is too broad, you want to be the best coach with the best service, who gets the clients the best results for whatever transformation that you're selling, then I'm looking to work with health and fitness coaches on a one-to-one basis. You're not just going to be chucked into a group setting. I'm going to be working with you directly. I want people who share the same passion for making more money for themselves, but also helping more people as well. If you feel like you might be a good fit, then feel free to apply in the description below. We'll have a chat. But yeah, that's all for this video, so I'll see you next time. Thank you.